the Evening Standard have posted the very final poll that's been conducted showing Sadiq Khan's lead over Susan Hall is now the smallest so far. By the way, have you both voted?
No, I'm
Are you
voting tomorrow.
tomorrow? You are.
Yeah, I'm making
I'm
a massive effort all the way across the other side of the line. I've just moved, so my polling card's actually only valid for North Greenwich, where I used to live, and I will be going to vote. Trust me.
I'm not sure I'm even going to be able to, because I changed my address, and one part of the website said that I had changed it before the deadline, and one of them gave me another deadline which said I had passed the deadline. So I may or may not be able to vote against Sadiq Khan tomorrow, but I guess we'll find out. I will try my best.
Oh dear. Yes, you must try. You must try. Anyway, so I'll show the people the poll, and here it is. And Susan Hall is on 32%, Sadiq Khan's on 42%, the Lib Dems are on 10, and this green psycho is on 8. And, well, he's a psycho too, but I wonder if there's a sign here that Sadiq Khan is starting to get a little bit worried, actually, about Susan Hall, because he posted this. And
Yeah.
he said on Twitter, before you give her an X, read her X or read her Twitter. And she said, come on, Donald Trump, make sure you win. Well, fine. Nigel Farage should be treated with respect. And Nigel Farage tweeted him saying, what are you suggesting, Sadiq Khan? What level of disrespect towards me do you think would be appropriate? Well, I imagine he'd quite like it if Nigel Farage simply didn't exist. I think that's the conclusion. But do you think he's rattled, Chloe? Do you think he's sort of starting to get a bit nervous? Because this just seems like desperate attempts to smear his opposition.
I mean, maybe he, as anyone in elections, should have. It's a disastrous approach to feel complacent. So he's trying to do his final push and put out his propaganda. But I think he's just so out of touch that he thinks that normal people will think that the kind of things that Susan Hall has written here are extreme when they're really not. For me, the most hilarious thing about Susan Hall is just that she can't actually do a hashtag properly. She's put a space between Nigel and Farage and can't spell should. But Sadiq Khan, you'll notice that he has blocked people from commenting on all of his posts because he can't take the heat, can't take anyone holding him to account. It's not just this post, it's all his posts lately. He also put out, I think it was yesterday or the day before, right around when we had this, very sadly, the stabbing of that teenage child. He put up a post with, his main policy is, I'm going to give you a fairer, greener London. Not a safer London, not reduced knife crime, a fairer, greener London.
Well, Chloe,
how
he's actually...
out of touch are you, Sadiq
Yes,
Khan?
he's actually given us a redder London, and it's not the red of Labour, it's the red of the blood of our children spewing out onto the streets when they've been hacked by a sword, a machete, or whatever else.
And this is the number one thing that Londoners really care about right now, and he just doesn't care. And he would sound like an absolute fool to say, I'm going to stop knife crime, because everyone says, well, you've been here 8 years and you haven't. It's gone up 40% under your watch. So it is just desperate, the kind of pledges he's putting out. And on that same graphic that he posted yesterday, I don't know if you want to bring it up, Darren, it's on his Twitter. His main thing is, make sure you vote for me so that we can stop the Tories. He's just trying to use this brand of, those evil Tories to win the election rather than actually coming up with any good policies. No, it's not that one.
Oh. Where am I?
It is. If it appears. He's posting too much. He's been reposting it. Go on media.
Yeah. Media. Oh. Right.
Let's find it. Oh, yeah. The last election was extremely close, this one. So look at this. It says, please lend me your vote to stop the Tories. Really? You just want us to vote for you because you're not a Tory? Okay. And then it says, and I'll build a fairer, greener London. Wow, what a pledge. I'm so impressed, Sadiq Khan. Meanwhile, everyone's running around with machetes, killing everyone. And you don't
And they're
seem to
skint.
care.
They can't drive their cars. They've been forced out of their cars because he is taxing them £12.50 a day and sneering at people when they complain about it. Actually, speaking of sneering then, I want to play this clip because this was him. He was confronted by Susan Hall on LBC on people, and Susan says people are running around London with machetes. Now, I said his reply was especially condescending. And he said, I think the Tory candidate should stop watching The Wire, which is a drama, a police drama. And I said, I think the Labour candidate should take his head out of his arse. But let's have a watch of this clip.
The Tory candidate should stop watching The Wire.
Communities. They are desperate. They cannot see their local police. They make reports if they're burgled and nothing happens.
London is under siege, you said. From whom?
I think that was
It's an article in the Daily Express. London is under siege?
Well, go out on the streets, and sometimes at night time, go out on the streets at night time and see about the gangs running around with machetes, because that's the stories I am hearing from the people that are running the night economy. That is not good.
Sadiq Khan.
I say in a respectful way, I think the Tory candidate should stop watching The Wire. We're not living in Baltimore, USA, in the noughties.
Communities.
So, right, if I do a very quick at Darren Grimes, and I search machete, so that's a man with a sword in London. There is a masked men there, a machete fight on a crowded London street outside of a tube station. There's another one. Machete, 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 machete. All of the media here. There are a load of videos that.
Well, there was that tube attack just a couple of weeks ago with the guy who basically had a knife the size of a samurai sword as well. Look, I was born and bred in London. I've seen London over the last 33 years throughout my entire life. And I have to say, this is the worst London has ever been. It is the poorest, the highest taxed. It is the most dangerous. It's the most unsettled. You can't go out on the weekends without being stopped by protesters ruining your day, trying to storm. We've got kids storming shops. It has completely fallen in to utter lawlessness under this mayor, who sits there and smirks in his SUV that's been kitted out to survive a terrorist attack. It's all right for him while he drives around in his custom-made SUV, while the rest of us have to squeeze on crowded tubes, have to live off of barely any money because he's been taxing us even more than before, and we have to dodge people robbing phones out of our hands, people running around with knives, dangerous streets, no nightlife. The whole of London has collapsed in the space of 10 years. It's taken 8 years for Sadiq Khan to finish it off, and another 4. Well, we can't afford it. We can't afford it, or it's all over. You might as well pack up and leave now.
Yeah. I mean, you've just reminded me actually of a video that I saw the other day with Steve Baker, who was the former Brexit minister, and he had a panic button on him in his High Wycombe constituency. And I said, well, hang on a minute, because Steve is one of those people that says, oh, we've got to be kind and understanding and, all of these other watchwords of the moment. He's a bit pious, to be honest. And I used to have a lot of respect and admiration for him, but I just think he's so completely out of touch now.
Well, he sold his soul out as soon as he got a ministerial job, didn't he? He all of a sudden became a lovey for the middle ground, centre grounds Tory party, which is
exactly, and he's desperate to keep his seat, of course, and the demographics in that seat are changing in the way that you can guess they're changing. Here it is.
Again, appeal to you, and just so the public know, the reason I've pressed the button on this device is because we do routinely get death threats. And that's why I'm wandering around, and I've got the control centre on the line. I wonder if you wouldn't mind just unmuting and let me know that you're still there.
I'm still here.
Thank you. But the reason that I need to...
So that's him going around, and he's being harassed by some Free Palestine idiot. And I said, what about the rest of us who don't have SOS safety buttons to press? The politicians with them are the ones that have allowed this to happen to our country. And Alex, you reminded me of that when you said about Sadiq Khan driving around with his security detail in SUVs kitted out to the high heavens. It is one rule, it is one protection for them, and quite a different thing for everybody else. It goes back to what Chloe was just saying there as well about the tents and the women being raped and things like that. Women aren't safe, and it won't be female politicians. They've got protection, and they're the ones that have allowed this to happen to our bloody country.
And I could just to add really quickly, because I'd love to hear Chloe's thoughts on this as a woman in London as well, because I know that it must be even scarier. But you know what really irritates me? It's these Labour commentators and Labour politicians that are pretending this is not an issue. You had Matthew Stadlin, who I cannot stand to high heavens, who was obviously mocked quite recently by even Elon Musk mocked him because he said he was a street fighter, would never get mugged, and then just a couple of years later he's had his phone mugged out of his hand. You know, these people who then still cannot, even defended that afterwards to say it wasn't a mugging, it was a phone robbery. It's like, you lot are nuts. You would happily sit there while the entire world burned around you under a Labour mayor, just to say, well, it's all fine, guys. It's all fine. I'm still alive, and he's doing a great job. Just say that. Just talk like everyone else is. Say what you see. You know, it's Mr. Ship. Say what you see. You're seeing London go down the pan.
Chloe, Lorraine says all women should have panic alarms when going out in London late at night. Do you have one?
I don't know, but if London keeps going the way it is, then maybe I will need to get one. It was really interesting hearing from you, Alex, about how you've seen London degrade, having lived here your whole life. I've only been here for how many years now? 4 or 5 years. And I have seen it degrade during that time. And you spoke, Alex, about what's happening in places like San Francisco, where you have to literally be dropped door to door. You can't walk around by yourself. Your kids certainly can't walk around by yourself, and you do not walk around at night. That is not where I want to live. And for me, the one of the reasons why I live in London and I'm a US citizen, I could go live in New York or somewhere cool like that. In New York, it is difficult for me to walk around by myself at night. But at London, one of the things I have always valued about it is that even though it's not perfect, I, as a woman, quite happy walking around without some sort of male chaperone taking me around everywhere. I don't want to live in a world where I can't go out after dark at all. I can't just, walk to the bus stop without feeling unsafe. But I feel like it's heading in that direction. And I would really hate to have to move out of London, because that becomes the reality if we become something like we're seeing in places like San Francisco. So I really want this to be sorted out. Sadly, you've shown us that last poll for the mayoral election tomorrow, and it looks like Sadiq Khan will win again. I mean, I just can't understand why people are still voting for this guy that has ruined London. I pray for a miracle where he doesn't win tomorrow, but I would be surprised. So it looks like London's going to keep going down the pan for at least the next 4 years, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, do either of you actually think Susan Hall stands a chance?
No, I don't think she's going to win. And it's really sad to say that, but the demographic of London every 4 or 5 years does get more and more less British, white British, unfortunately, the truth, who are voting for Susan Hall.
I mean, do either of you think a white person will ever win in London again?
You know, I don't know whether London is that trivial. I think it is becoming just a Labour city where you just get Labour. You may eventually get a wet left sort of leaning Tory back in. I think you will get that at some point in time. I think it will be 10 years or so, though. I mean, don't forget, Boris Johnson only won because he's Boris Johnson. It's not because of the demographics of London. He won because of his character. Otherwise we would have still had Labour mayors for the last 15 years. Boris Johnson broke that. So you really do need a real conservative firebrand, so to speak, Darren, to come up and actually take charge of the city.
Yeah, that's the thing, is I'm really unimpressed with the Tories when I'm like, as a Londoner, and you're sure as well, Alex, we're just crying out for someone else to take over from Sadiq Khan. And I'm like, that is the best talent that you can muster. Nobody's ever heard of this woman. She's not interesting at all. She'd be better than Sadiq Khan, sure. I'd rather have her than Sadiq Khan. But she's, as you say, Alex, you really need a really strong personality if you are going to beat Labour in London. Now, if it were the case that the Conservatives were winning in the polls on the national scale, even though London is more left-leaning, I think because Sadiq Khan has pissed off so many people with ULEZ and the rising knife crime, maybe it would have been possible for Susan Hall to get over the line. But at the moment, people they look at the Tories on the national level and think these guys are incompetent, all their promises are just hot air and they don't do anything. Why should I expect this woman, Susan Hall, who I've never heard of, to be any better? So that doesn't help either.
Mm. I got an email earlier from the Reclaim Party saying Lawrence Fox is standing, and I actually had no idea he was standing.
Yeah, I just realised that today as well.
That was news to me. Have you got what it takes to be a reasoned presenter? Well, send us a short clip of yourself to join@reasoned.uk, and we might be seeing you on this very channel very soon indeed.